The vast darkness of space held many secrets, but none more terrifying than the mystery of Earth. Captain Tom Reed stood at the bridge of his scout ship, the Star Seeker, staring at the holographic display of the Milky Way. His antennae twitched nervously as he marked Earth's solar system with a red warning symbol. "Captain, we should turn back," said First Officer Mike Brown, his blue scales reflecting the dim light of the bridge. "That sector is forbidden for a reason." Tom knew the stories. Every spacefaring race knew about Earth. Once, it had been a noisy planet, broadcasting all sorts of signals into space. Music, entertainment, news, the humans never seemed to stop talking. Then, exactly 50 years ago, everything went silent. No broadcasts. No signals. Nothing. The strangest part? Their satellites and space stations kept working perfectly. Ships that got too close reported seeing lights on the planet, signs of an advanced civilization. But no one answered any calls. "We need to know what happened," Tom said, adjusting the settings on his sensor array. "The Council is worried. 3 exploration fleets have vanished near Earth in the past month alone." Mike looked at the data streaming across his screen. "The readings don't make sense, Captain. Earth's technology level has jumped significantly since the silence began. Their energy output is off the charts, but it's contained somehow." The Star Seeker's sensors picked up something new, a massive energy spike from Earth's direction. Tom's eyes widened as he watched the readings climb higher and higher. "All hands, battle stations," he shouted, but it was too late. A wave of strange energy washed over the ship. Every system started acting strangely. The artificial gravity flickered. Lights pulsed in patterns that hurt their eyes. And through every speaker on the ship came a sound that made their blood run cold, human laughter, distorted and wrong. "Emergency Protocol Alpha." Tom yelled, hitting the red button that would send their data back to Space Command. "Get us out of here." As the Star Seeker turned to jump to faster-than-light speed, Tom caught a glimpse of something on the long-range sensors. Massive objects were rising from Earth's surface, breaking through the atmosphere like whales breaching the ocean's surface. They were ships, but unlike anything he'd ever seen before. The last thing Tom managed to send before the jump was a simple message: "Earth isn't silent." They were building something. And now they're ready. Back at Space Command, the message caused panic among the Council members. They had always feared what might have caused Earth's silence. Now they knew, the humans hadn't gone quiet because something happened to them. They went quiet because they were preparing. The question was, preparing for what? In the weeks that followed, more ships disappeared near Earth. But now, they vanished with purpose, as if something was systematically clearing a perimeter around the solar system. The Council ordered all ships to stay at least 10 light-years away from Earth, but it was clear this wouldn't be enough. Whatever humanity had become during their 50 years of silence, they were done hiding. And the galaxy wasn't ready for what was coming next. 2 weeks after Captain Tom Reed's encounter with Earth, the Alien Council faced its worst nightmare. A human ship appeared in the heart of their space without warning. It simply materialized above their capital planet, ignoring all known laws of physics and space travel. The ship was beautiful and terrifying. It looked like flowing silver water frozen in space, twice the size of their largest battleship. No visible weapons, no standard engine ports, just smooth, shifting metal that seemed alive. Council leader Dan White stood in the Great Hall, surrounded by representatives from 50 alien races. Their best weapons were aimed at the human ship, but deep down, they all knew it wouldn't matter. A message arrived on all channels, in perfect universal common: "We come to talk. No weapons needed. We could have arrived anywhere on your planet. We chose to appear in plain sight as a sign of respect." The Council members looked at each other nervously. They had no choice but to agree. When the human representatives appeared in the council chamber, everyone gasped. They didn't use transport pods or beam technology. They simply stepped through what looked like tears in space itself, dressed in simple gray suits that seemed to drink in light. The human leader introduced himself as Ambassador Jack Stone. He looked ordinary enough, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But something about his calm smile made everyone uncomfortable. For 50 years, you've wondered about our silence, Jack said, his voice carrying easily through the large chamber. Today, you get answers. He raised his hand, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. But this wasn't any normal hologram, it was like looking through a window into another place. They could feel the wind from the scene, smell the grass, hear the birds. 50 years ago, we discovered something that changed everything, Jack continued. We found out we weren't alone in the universe. But more importantly, we learned that space isn't what we thought it was. The hologram showed Earth scientists working on strange machines. We realized that everything we knew about physics was just the surface. Reality has layers, like an onion. And in those deeper layers, impossible things become possible. Dan White found his voice. Why are you telling us this now? Jack's smile faded. Because what we found wasn't just about new technology. We discovered something coming. Something that makes our old fights seem pointless. The hologram changed to show deep space, but not like anyone had seen it before. Strange shadows moved between the stars, vast and ancient. There are things living in the dark layers of space. Things that have been sleeping for millions of years. And they're starting to wake up. A chill ran through the council chamber. Jack continued, we didn't go silent to hide from you. We went silent because we needed to focus every bit of energy, every resource, every mind on preparing for what's coming. We learned to step sideways through reality, to build ships that sail through the layers of space, to make weapons that can hurt things that aren't fully real. And now you want our help? Someone asked. Jack shook his head. No. We're here to offer our help. What's coming will affect all of us. We've spent 50 years preparing not just to survive, but to fight back. We can teach you what we've learned, help you prepare your worlds. But we need to start now. Dan White looked at the human with new understanding. The ships that disappeared near Earth. Training exercises, Jack said. We needed to test our ability to pull ships into the layers we now travel through. Every crew is safe, learning things they never imagined possible. We can return them whenever you wish. The council chamber erupted in confused discussion. Jack stood patiently, that calm smile back on his face. He knew what would happen next. After all, humanity had spent 50 years planning for this moment. How long do we have? Dan White asked, silencing the room. Jack's expression turned serious. The shadows will reach the first inhabited worlds in less than 5 years. We have until then to prepare as many races as possible. The council leader looked around the room, seeing the fear and determination on every face. Then we better get started. As the council began their emergency session, Jack sent a silent message back to Earth, first contact successful. Phase 2 beginning. The 50 years of silence had served their purpose. Humanity had evolved, preparing not just themselves but positioning themselves to help prepare the entire galaxy. The real question was, would it be enough? 1 month after the humans' announcement, the giant space station, Hope's Edge, orbited a distant star. Built by humans in just 2 weeks, it was bigger than a small moon. Ships from 100 alien worlds docked at its silver ports, bringing their best warriors and scientists to learn humanity's secrets. Inside the main training hall, Captain Tom Reed couldn't believe he was here. After his close encounter with Earth, he had been chosen as one of the first alien officers to learn the humans' new ways of fighting. His teacher was Commander Bill Stone, a tall human with gray hair who moved like a much younger person. Today, Bill announced to the gathered aliens, you learn why we had to change everything about how we think of space. The commander pressed a button on his wrist. The solid floor beneath them became transparent, showing not the stars below, but something else. Dark shapes moved in what looked like deep water, but this water was the space between spaces. These are what we call the shadows, Bill said. Ancient beings that live in the layers of reality we couldn't see before. They're waking up hungry, and our normal weapons can't hurt them. He pulled out what looked like a simple metal rod. This is why we needed 50 years. We had to make new weapons, new ships, new ways of fighting. Watch carefully. Bill stepped forward, and suddenly he wasn't walking on the floor anymore. He moved through the air as if gravity had forgotten about him. The metal rod in his hand lit up with strange purple light. The shadows exist in multiple layers of reality at once, he explained. To fight them, we must do the same. Tom watched in amazement as Bill seemed to split into 3 copies of himself, each one slightly different, moving in ways that hurt his eyes to watch. This is what we call layer walking. Your bodies already do it a tiny bit, that's how we knew other races could learn it. You just need to learn to control it. Every human now carried special implants that helped them see and move through different layers of reality. They'd rebuilt their entire civilization to face this threat. The hardest part, Bill explained as they practiced basic layer walking, was keeping it secret. We knew if we told everyone too soon, there would be panic. Fear. Maybe even wars over the new technology. We needed to perfect it first, to be ready to teach others when the time came. Tom stumbled as he tried to step sideways through reality. It felt like trying to walk in 2 directions at once. How long until we're ready to fight? The shadows will reach the outer colonies in 4 years, 8 months, and 14 days, Bill said. We'll be ready in 3 years. We have to be. Later that night, Tom stood at a window, watching alien ships practice new flight patterns. They flickered in and out of normal space, learning to dance between realities. Earth ships led them, their silver hulls flowing like liquid metal as they moved. His communication device beeped, a message from Space Command. More shadow movements had been detected, closer than expected. The human predictions were right, they were waking up faster now. Tom thought about everything he'd learned today. Humans hadn't gone silent because they were afraid. They'd gone silent because they were becoming something new, something ready to fight an enemy most people couldn't even see. Now they were teaching others to prepare too. The question wasn't whether they would fight the shadows. The question was, what would the shadows think when they realized what humanity had become while they slept? The alarm shook everyone awake on Hope's Edge Station. Red lights flashed as Captain Tom Reed rushed to the command center. He had been training for 3 months now, learning the humans' ways of fighting. Today, he would need everything he had learned. Shadow contact, announced Commander Bill Stone. 3 light-years from here. It's attacking a mining colony. The main screen showed the colony, a small outpost on a rocky planet. But in the deeper layers of reality that humans had taught them to see, something massive moved through space. The shadow was bigger than any ship, its dark form spreading across multiple realities at once. Battle stations. Bill ordered. This is not a drill. First response team, move out. Tom joined the team of mixed human and alien fighters boarding the new ships. These vessels were different from anything he had ever seen before, built by both humans and aliens using the new technology. Their metal shells could shift between reality layers just like their crews. Remember your training, Bill said as they prepared to jump. The shadow doesn't fully exist in any one place. Hit it in all layers at once or it will just move to avoid damage. Tom checked his new weapon, a modified version of the human reality splitting technology. It looked simple, just a black rod with purple lights, but it could cut through multiple layers of space at once. The ships jumped, but not through normal space. They moved sideways, slipping between the layers of reality like fish swimming through different depths of water. Tom's stomach turned as his body existed in 3 places at once, but his training held. They emerged near the colony. The shadow was even bigger up close. It looked like a storm made of darkness, with parts of it fading in and out of different realities. As they watched, it reached out with impossible limbs and started pulling apart the colony's outer buildings. "Attack pattern Delta," Bill commanded. "Hit it from all sides, all layers." The fleet split into 3 groups, each one sliding into a different layer of reality. Tom's ship joined the middle group. Their weapons powered up, glowing with the strange purple energy that humans had discovered could hurt these creatures. The shadow noticed them. It turned, or seemed to turn, since it didn't have a proper front or back. Parts of it reached for their ships, moving faster than anything that big should be able to move. "Fire!" Bill ordered. Purple beams shot out from all the ships, cutting through multiple layers of reality. Where they hit, the shadow's darkness seemed to burn away. It made a sound that existed somewhere between noise and thought, a scream that hurt Tom's mind. But it fought back. Tentacles of pure darkness lashed out, wrapping around one of the alien ships. The ship's reality shields flickered as the shadow tried to pull it apart across different layers of space. Tom remembered his training. He focused his ship's weapons on the exact spot where the tentacles seemed most solid, existing most strongly in their layer of reality. Other ships followed his lead, concentrating their fire. The shadow's grip broke. The alien ship spun free, damaged but intact. The creature pulled back, seeming surprised that its attack had failed. "All ships, full attack," Bill commanded. "Don't let it escape to the deeper layers." They pressed their advantage. Ships danced through multiple realities, firing whenever they had a clear shot. The shadow tried to fight back, but it wasn't used to prey that could see it, let alone hurt it. Finally, after what felt like hours, the shadow began to break apart. Its form scattered across multiple realities, like smoke in a strong wind. Soon, nothing remained except a strange darkness that quickly faded away. "First confirmed kill," Bill announced. His voice was tired but proud. "Good work, everyone. Especially you, Captain Reed." That was quick thinking with the concentrated fire. They rescued the colony's survivors and rebuilt their damaged structures. As they worked, Tom noticed something interesting. The humans didn't celebrate their victory much. They were already studying data from the battle, learning from it. "Why aren't you more excited?" he asked Bill. "We just proved we can kill these things." Bill's face was serious. "Because that was one of the small ones. And it nearly took out our whole fleet. The big ones are still sleeping, but not for long. This was just the beginning." Later, in the station's observation room, Tom watched the rescue operations below. Humans and aliens worked together, stronger than they had been separately. They had won their first battle against the shadows, but the war was just starting. A message came through from Earth: more shadows had been detected moving in the deep layers of space. They were waking up faster now, maybe attracted by the death of one of their kind. The next battle would come soon. But this time, they would be ready. Humans had spent 50 years preparing for this fight, and now they weren't fighting alone. The silent Earth had become the galaxy's best hope for survival. 1 week after their first victory against a shadow, the alarms on Hope's Edge station rang again. This time was different. Every sensor on the station was screaming warnings. Something massive was moving through the deep layers of space. Captain Tom Reed ran into the command center to find Commander Bill Stone staring at the main screen, his face pale. The display showed something that made their previous shadow look tiny. That, Bill said quietly, is what we've been preparing for. A greater shadow. One of the ancient ones. The creature was enormous. It twisted through multiple layers of reality, its body spreading across space like a dark cloud. As they watched, it swallowed an entire uninhabited planet, pulling it apart across different realities. All ships, launch now. Bill ordered. This is not a training exercise. This is what Earth went silent for. All units, activate full combat protocols. The station transformed. Panels shifted, revealing hidden weapons. The entire structure could now move between reality layers, something they had never shown during training. Tom joined the fleet launching from the station. Their ships now carried upgraded weapons based on what they had learned from the first battle. But would it be enough? Listen up, Bill's voice came through all channels. We knew this day would come. That's why Earth spent 50 years preparing. That's why we trained you all. Today, we find out if it was enough. The greater shadow noticed them. It turned its attention toward the fleet, and Tom felt a pressure in his mind. This wasn't just a hungry creature, it was intelligent. A voice echoed in everyone's heads, small things. You should not be able to see US. You should not be able to fight US. That's where you're wrong, Bill responded, broadcasting on all reality layers. We've been watching you for 50 years. Learning. Preparing. You're not as invisible as you think. The creature's response was to attack. Parts of it reached through multiple realities at once, trying to crush their ships. But they were ready. The fleet split into practiced formations, each ship sliding between reality layers in perfect coordination. Attack pattern Omega. Bill commanded. Hit it with everything. The battle that followed was like nothing Tom had ever seen. Ships moved in impossible ways, firing weapons that cut through the layers of reality. The greater shadow fought back with powers they had never seen before, creating storms of darkness that could erase matter from existence. Hope's Edge Station revealed its true power. Its entire structure shifted, becoming a massive weapon that could fire into multiple realities at once. Purple energy beams bigger than cities struck the shadow, making it scream in rage and pain. But they were losing ships. The shadow was too big, too powerful. For every part they managed to hurt, 3 more attacked them. Tom watched as good pilots, both human and alien, vanished into the darkness. Then he noticed something. Commander. Look at its center. When it moves between realities, there's a pattern. Bill studied the readings. He's right. All ships, focus fire on these coordinates. Time your shots with the reality shifts. The fleet moved as one, positioning themselves around the shadow. They had to time this perfectly. The creature was shifting between realities in a complex pattern, but there was a moment when it had to pass through all layers at once. Now! Bill ordered. Every ship fired at the same point. Hope's Edge Station fired its main weapon. Purple energy beams from all reality layers struck the shadow at its center point. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shadow began to break apart. Not like the smaller one had, this was different. Reality itself seemed to crack where they had hit it. The creature tried to hold itself together, but it was too late. Impossible, it broadcast. We are eternal. We are. The shadow exploded across multiple realities at once. The blast sent waves through all layers of space, but their ship's shields held. When the energy faded, nothing remained of the creature except scattered darkness that quickly dissolved. But victory came at a cost. Many ships had been lost. Parts of Hope's Edge Station were heavily damaged. The survivors gathered to count their losses and repair what they could. We won, Tom said to Bill later, but barely. And you said there are more of these greater shadows out there? Bill nodded. Many more. But we learned something important today: they can be killed. And now they know it too. That's why Earth went silent. We needed them to think they were still the most powerful things in space. Now they know they're not. A message arrived from Earth: their sensors had detected more greater shadows moving, gathering. The next attack would be bigger. But now every race in the galaxy knew humanity's secret, and they were ready to fight together. Tom looked out at the stars, seeing them differently now. Humanity's 50 years of silence had changed everything. They had turned fear into preparation, weakness into strength. The shadows were ancient and powerful, but they were about to learn why you should never underestimate humans, or the allies they protect. 3 days after defeating the Greater Shadow, Captain Tom Reed stood in a secret room deep inside Hope's Edge Station. Commander Bill Stone had called him and a few other top alien officers for an emergency meeting. Something had changed. "What I'm about to show you," Bill said, his face more serious than ever, "is the real reason Earth went silent 50 years ago. The Greater Shadow we defeated wasn't just hunting. It was searching for something. Something we found first." He pressed his hand against a wall, and reality itself seemed to split open. Behind it was a chamber that existed in multiple layers at once. In the center, floating in a field of purple energy, was a small black cube. "This is what we found on Mars," Bill explained. "The remains of the ancient civilization didn't just leave us warnings. They left us this. We spent 20 years just learning how to look at it properly. It exists in 7 different reality layers at once." Tom stepped closer, feeling a strange pull from the cube. "What is it?" "A key," Bill said. "Or maybe a map. We're still not entirely sure. But we know the shadows want it. They've been searching for it since before humans existed. That's why we had to go silent. If they had detected our experiments with it, they would have destroyed Earth immediately." The cube flickered, showing strange patterns that hurt Tom's eyes to look at. Bill continued, "The ancient civilization used it to find something they called the layer core, the place where all realities meet. They believed it was the source of the shadow's power. And maybe the way to stop them forever." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The main screen showed multiple greater shadows appearing, surrounding them from all directions. But these weren't attacking. They were waiting. A voice boomed through all reality layers: "Return what you stole, small ones. It is not for you." Bill smiled grimly. They finally figured out where it was. "That's why we built Hope's Edge, not just as a training center, but as a fortress to protect the cube." "How many are out there?" Tom asked, checking the sensors. 27 greater shadows," Bill answered. "More than we've ever seen together. This is what we've been preparing for. The real reason Earth went silent wasn't just to develop weapons or learn to fight. It was to prepare for this moment." The station shuddered as the shadows moved closer. But they weren't just facing a space station anymore. In the 50 years of silence, humanity had built something much bigger. "All units," Bill broadcast across all channels, "Operation Daybreak is now active. Emerge from deep cover." Tom watched in amazement as hundreds of massive ships appeared from nowhere. They had been hidden in the deep reality layers all around Hope's Edge, waiting. Human ships, alien ships, and hybrid vessels created by their combined technology. The galaxy lit up with purple fire. 27 greater shadows fought against the energy web created by humanity's hidden stations, but they couldn't break free. The cube in Hope's Edge Station pulsed with ancient power, its light spreading through all layers of reality. Captain Tom Reed watched from the command center as Commander Bill Stone activated the final sequence. "All stations," Bill broadcast, "prepare for layer jump. We're taking everything to the core." The entire network of stations, along with their combined fleet, began to move in ways that space wasn't supposed to allow. They weren't just traveling through space, they were traveling through reality itself. Stop this madness, the shadows thundered in their minds. The layer core is not meant for physical beings. You will destroy yourselves. Maybe, Bill replied calmly. But humans have a saying, sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything. The jump began. Tom felt reality stretch around them like rubber bands being pulled too tight. Through the viewing screens, he saw impossible things, layers of space peeling away like pages in a book, revealing deeper and stranger levels of existence. The shadows screamed as they were pulled along, caught in the energy web. Their massive dark forms twisted and changed, trying to escape, but humanity's 50 years of preparation had created a trap they couldn't break. Finally, after what felt like hours or maybe seconds, time worked strangely here, they arrived. The layer core was nothing like they expected. It wasn't a place, exactly. It was a point where all realities met, a spinning storm of pure creation. Beautiful, isn't it? Bill said softly. This is where everything begins. Where reality itself is born. And look who's been guarding it. Around the core floated the biggest shadow they had ever seen. It was like a living darkness that went on forever, ancient beyond understanding. The Shadow King. So, it spoke, its voice shaking every layer of reality. The small ones have finally found their way here. After millions of years, you are the first. Bill stepped forward. We know what you are now. You're not destroyers. You're gardeners gone wrong. You were supposed to maintain the reality layers, keep them healthy. But you got hungry. Started eating them instead. The Shadow King seemed to laugh. Clever small ones. Yes. We were meant to tend reality. But we found that consuming it gave us power. Why tend a garden when you can feast on it? Because eventually you'll have nothing left to eat, Tom said, understanding at last. That's what the ancient civilization discovered. That's why they built the cube. They were trying to remind you of your purpose. The cube floated forward, its light growing stronger. The Shadow King tried to back away, but the energy web held it in place. 50 years ago, Bill explained, Earth found this cube and understood what had to be done. We couldn't just fight the shadows. We had to heal them. Remind them of what they were meant to be. That's why we needed all this preparation, all this technology. Not for destruction, for restoration. The cube's light touched the Shadow King. Where it made contact, the darkness changed, becoming something else. Not evil or hungry, but purposeful. The other shadows caught in the web began to change too. No, the Shadow King fought against the change. We will not go back to being servants. Not servants, Bill corrected. Guardians. Like you were always meant to be. Like we can be too, working together. The cube's power reached its peak. The layer core pulsed in harmony with it. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as ancient power met ancient purpose. Tom watched in awe as the Shadow King's darkness transformed into something beautiful, a being of pure light and purpose. One by one, the other shadows changed too. They weren't destroyed, but reborn. When it was over, the layer core glowed with new health. The transformed shadows moved through reality with grace instead of hunger, healing the damage they had caused. The Shadow King, now a creature of light, spoke one last time, we remember now. Our purpose. Our duty. Perhaps the small ones are not so small after all. Later, as the stations and fleet prepared to return to normal space, Tom found Bill looking out at the transformed shadows beginning their work of healing reality. So Earth went silent, Tom said, not to build weapons, but to build a way to save everyone, even our enemies? Bill nodded. Humans learned long ago that the biggest victories don't come from destroying your enemies, but from transforming them into friends. 50 years of silence was a small price to pay for that. As they jumped back to their own reality layer, Tom thought about how the story would be told. How Earth, the silent planet that everyone had feared, had spent 50 years preparing not for war, but for healing. They had faced the darkness and brought back the light. The galaxy would never be the same. But then, that had been the plan all along.